These rocky shores where I call home, where my heart longs to be. Whenever I roam, it's these rocky shores, it's where I long to be. Yes, it's these rocky shores, they are home to me.
Whenever I leave here, it hurts me so, with tears in my eyes. Oh, I hate to go. There ain't no work, and the kids need new clothes. The bills need paying, so I must go.
These rocky shores, where I call home, where my heart longs to be. Whenever I roam, yes, these rocky shores, it's where I long to be. Yes, these rocky shores, they're home to me.
I think to myself, where did it all go? The life I once had on the ocean's little road. With tears in my eyes and my head in my hands, away from my family, I hope they understand.
That is these rocky shores, where I call home, it's where my heart longs to be. Whenever I roam, yes, these rocky shores, where I long to be. Yes, these rocky shores, they are home to me. Yes, these rocky shores, they are home to me.
Good evening and welcome to This Week in Review. Tonight's stories include interview with Bill Barry of Seafreeze, Mayor Ann at a public meeting, update on work at the schools, sing-along at A.J. Matthews' council report. These stories plus community events, CBS Playbill, Off the Rack, and more coming up after this.
I am Astar, a robot. I can put my arm back on. You can't. So play safe.
Burgeo Action Committee met with Bill Barry of Seafreeze on Saturday, October 17th at Cornerbrook. We took our cameras along and spoke with Mr. Barry after the meeting.
We have with us Bill Barry, owner of Seafreeze Foods. How are you, Mr. Barry?
I'm fine, thanks.
How do you think the outcome of the meeting went?
I think we had a very good meeting today. Obviously, when we came here this morning, there was a tremendous amount of concerns by everybody, including myself, about, where the future of the fish plant in Burgeo was. And, there's a tremendous amount of pent-up frustrations out there, and certainly, a lot of frustration lies within the community of Burgeo with the end of tags and what's going to happen now in terms of their own livelihood and that. And there's a certain degree of, I'm sure not as much frustrations with the people of Burgeo, but there's a certain degree of frustration with me too. in terms of, like, I had been concentrating and trying to focus over the last several months and finding a solution, or trying to find the right formula so we could ensure that we could get enough resources to put into the plant to make it a viable operation, because it's not only an issue of making it a viable operation, but as everybody in Burgeo knows, like, to reactivate that plant now, it was a large offshore plant, and it still is a big plant, and it, you know, requires a significant capital expenditure down there to do almost anything in the plant. You know, it's several $1 million have to be spent in there. So I've been looking for, or thinking in my own mind, you know, what resources were around, and we thought about Argentine, but that doesn't seem to be, you know, that resource doesn't seem to be strong enough to support a standalone operation. But we've had some further discussion on shrimp and things that we've discussed at the meeting here today. And I think the positive thing about the meeting that we had is I believe that everybody here, you know, everyone that attended the meeting, be it the union, all of the other people from Burgeo, politicians, both federal and provincial, and certainly myself and everybody from my company, we all agree that we have to find a solution. And it's an emergency situation to find a solution, because everybody wants to see people working back in that plant in 1999. And essentially, we've set up a small committee that's going to meet on a regular basis, with our first meeting being, I believe, next Thursday. And to work with a very directed agenda between now and December 31st to find a solution for the Burgeo fish plant. And you know, because there are a tremendous amount of frustration on behalf of you know, the people in Burgeo, basically the mayor's committee said to me, well, look, you know, we're going to do everything we can to work together to try and find a solution. But if we don't find a solution by a certain date, which they said the end of the year, they asked if I would be in a position to, you know, look at turning the plant operation over to them to look for an answer. And I told them that if I couldn't find a solution, or we collectively couldn't find a solution, that, you know, I wouldn't stand in the way of anything that Burgeo had to, you know, any possibility that the plant had to be operated by me and or anybody else, that I certainly wouldn't stand in the way of the people in Burgeo going back to work. But having said that, what I intend to do is be totally proactive with this committee, and I intend to work with the mayor and the provincial and federal people and the union as well, to try and find a solution to bring whatever resources need to be brought to bear to influence whatever people we need to influence, so that we can find some type of mechanism. The way is not totally clear to me yet, but I do know that everybody in this room, and I think the people of Burgeo should know, every single individual that was in this room, there was probably 35 or 40 people there, every single person was here. We're all singing from the same song sheet. We're not in disagreement on anything that I know of. And we're basically have committed ourselves collectively to the challenge of making this fish plant a viable fish plant again. So, you know, you asked me what I thought about the meeting, and this meeting was a positive meeting. It wasn't an easy meeting. It certainly started off very difficultly, and from everybody's perspective, because the frustrations are just there on everybody's side, including myself. And but I think that the positive thing about the meeting is that we are all on the one song sheet now. We are all working for a common cause, and I think whatever baggage that myself and or anybody else had in terms of the past, you know, we've for the common good of the people of Burgeo. I mean, we're putting that behind us, because Burgeo needs a solution. The people of Burgeo need this to be done for them, and you know, I commit to them that I'm going to be part of this process, and I'm going to do everything that I possibly can. And anyway, that's where I am.
Thank you very much for your time, and good luck with your endeavour with the new committee.
Thanks very much.
We also spoke with Bill Matthews, our MP, and our MHA, Bill Ramsey.
We have with us now Bill Ramsey, our MHA for Burgeo-Lapoil. Mr. Ramsey, how do you feel about the conclusion of the meeting?
Well, it's turned out to be productive. A lot of concern with the frustration that the people of Burgeo have been experiencing over the last while, and I thought it was very, very important that this meeting we initiate some form of plan to go forward. And I'm pleased that through the hard work of the mayor and the committee, and the people of Burgeo giving direction to the committee, that we've arrived at a solution with the help of Mr. Barry. It has to be a constructive approach to how we're going to go about this. People make things happen, is what I've said, and if you get everyone pulling in the same direction, something will happen, and something will be happening for the benefit of the people of Burgeo. So I'm optimistic. I think we have to be optimistic. I know that it's not going to be easy. It's going to be very difficult to find that solution. If it was easy, it would have been done by now, by the other efforts that have been made. But we'll redouble our efforts and all pull in the same direction and continue on, and hopefully that we will be able to find some solution. It's important not to create false hope, but it's also important to know that it's being worked on and that everyone is doing everything they can to help things happen.
Okay, can you tell me the members of this new committee?
Well, we'll have representation on the committee, including Mr. Barry, and also some people from the Provincial Department of Fisheries, high-level people from there. Our Assistant Deputy Minister, David Lewis, will be attending the next meeting on Thursday. And we also have the Area Director, Mr. Kennedy, will be in attendance at that meeting. And we will make sure that we have, I'll be available when required for the committee to go forward, and as well the MP or his designate will be available to the committee. So with that, along with the union representation, Reg Anstey has, the Vice President of the union, has declared that he will be available himself. Given his schedule, he'll have other people attend when necessary. And it's provided, that kind of small working group has provided solutions in some areas where plants have been shut down and needed to be reactivated. So there are, success leaves some clues, and that kind of situation, having worked in other cases, I think maybe it'll be a help to make this work.
Do you think that this small committee now is a big step in probably reaching the goal at getting the plant open or getting some quotas for our plant?
It'll certainly be a help, and it may be the step that's necessary. That, along with the, demonstrating, I think, to the people the commitment of Sea Freeze to try to make something happen there. There are a lot of doubts by people in the community and a lot of concerns that, and it comes through a lack of communication. And we've probably all failed in communicating properly with the people of Burgeo as to just what's been happening. And it's something that the small committee will attempt to help address as well, I think, is to make sure that the lines of communication are open where they can be. It's not always that a business can't run itself in public. Business has, for a variety of reasons, has to remain confidential on matters. But where possible, keeping the community informed of progress, I think, is a very important part of that.
Now, I understand that this committee intends to meet, I don't know on a regular basis, but more often than what the other committee was. Do you think that this is a big step forward? It
certainly is. We will establish a series of meeting dates once the Thursday meeting is started off. Part of that will be to establish the overall process through the fall. So that'll be helpful to lay it all out, and then to try to reach certain milestones, establish the way that we're going to operate, and I think that's very helpful and a positive sign for everybody.
Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.
Now, Bill Matthews, MP for Burin St. George's. Mr. Matthews, how do you feel about the outcome of the meeting today?
I'm extremely pleased with the outcome, the final result, that we're going to form a small committee. Commitment from the company, the union, and the town that they will meet on a regular basis to, first of all, identify possibilities and to develop a strategy, and then proceed forward, calling upon federal and provincial departments and agencies to assist where needed. So I'm absolutely delighted with what's happened today, and it's been a very positive meeting, and hopefully, in the final analysis, it will bring positive results for the people of Burgeo from an employment point of view, and will bring a successful operation for the company where they make money, which is very, very important. But we must realize here that the first thing we have to do is identify raw material, to identify sufficient levels of resource to put the plant in operation, to employ people and enable the company to make some money. So that's the challenge, and I'm pleased with the way things have worked out.
Now, like I asked the other bill, do you think that this is a step in the right direction towards getting the plant open probably in the future?
Oh, absolutely. You know, this was a good strategy that's been developed today. You know, on Thursday, on the upcoming meeting, there will be a calendar of regular meetings scheduled, and that will keep the major players involved on a regular basis. Will enable them to communicate, to toss around ideas, to discard some probably ideas that don't make much sense, but hopefully to identify, you know, possibilities. For like I said, the most important thing is to identify resource and get DFO on side to enable the company to access the resource to process in Burgeo. So that's the big challenge. And of course, in all of that, the economics comes in, and it has to be a sufficient amount of resource to enable the company to pay its bills and pay the wages and make some money. So, you know, that's where we are with it. But a good meeting, and I'm very pleased. And everyone that was here today, as was said before, was highly committed to this. And I'm going away today feeling very good about this.
Well, thank you very much for your time.
And thank you.
On Monday of this week, Mayor Ann and Gerald McDonald, two members of the Burgeo Action Committee, held a public meeting. This meeting was to inform our community of the outcome of their meeting with Bill Barry of Seafreeze.
Glad to see such a good turnout again this evening. Not as good as the last time, but it's still a pretty good turnout. Welcome you all there. And it goes back to the meeting we held on September the 10th, in which you asked me to strike a committee to go meet with Mr. Bill Barry and see if something couldn't be worked out to get the Burgeo plant open. Well, I did strike the committee. We had met with Mr. Barry, and I'm back here now. I think I've met the first part of the mandate which you gave me anyway. Before I came to the meeting this evening, I had a call from MP Bill Matthews. He regrets that he can't be here this evening, but at the same time, he also felt that he didn't have that much to offer that couldn't be taken care of by us ourselves at this time. He wishes us all the best, and earlier today I was talking to Mr. Bill Ramsey, who passed along the same thing. But having said all of that, we get into the crux of the meeting. On Saturday, we went to Corner Brook for the meeting with Mr. Barry, and I guess you could say that it was just touching the first meeting. We were just breaking the ice between the new committee and Mr. Barry. Those in attendance besides our committee and from us was Mr. Bob Wiseman of DFO, David Lewis, the Assistant Deputy Minister of Fisheries for Provincial Fisheries, Ridge Anstey of FFAW, Bill Ramsey, Larry Peckford of HRDC, and Bill Matthews. There were others there, but they were the resource people which our committee had requested to be there, and it was good that they were there, and I'm sure everybody that was there agrees that they were very helpful in making us come to the decision that we came to. Our meeting didn't get off to a good start. If the first 15 minutes was any indication, I wouldn't say that the meeting would have lasted for 30 minutes. And I'm sure everybody was there would agree with that. However, I think it was a case that Mr. Barry was really uptight. I think when he came into the room, he was almost of the opinion that he was facing the hanging judge and he had the guilty jury sitting. But after he had sounded himself out and blew off whatever he had to blow off, I think he came down to earth, and from then on our meeting moved along fairly well. He was quite aware of the distrust which was built up between this town and him, and no doubt he is partly the reason for it. He had also been filled full of a lot of rumors, and I've got to touch on this thing, grabbing the mic, grabbing the phone and phoning Mr. Del Barry every time someone seems to think that they got something that they're going to score big with them, or that it's going to help their cause, not necessarily going to be Virgil's cause, but their own personal little cause. You know, it can really start a lot of trouble, and if anything, it'll do more harm than good. And I've got every reason to believe that there is a lot of this going on. You know, tonight, I really do want people to speak out, and if you've got negative things to say, then say them, because I know I really apologize because there's no microphone. I tried, I can't seem to get anything to work. The cord is broke or something. I just can't get anything to come through, so I can't provide you with a microphone, although if you want to, you can certainly come up and take this one. But you know, what's sit here tonight, sure, somebody is going to have some negative things to say, and I don't blame them. But I don't see any reason for there to be a rush to the door to grab the phone and phone Seafreeze to say so-and-so did such and such, and so-and-so did something else. I just don't think that's necessary, and I don't think it accomplishes anything. Anyway, we met with Mr. Barry, and like I say, at the end of the 4-hour meeting, in which everybody gave it their best shot, what we came up with, probably not much more than we had expected. There was a proposal on the table, which we took a break in, which Mr. Barry put on the table. We took a break, we discussed it. Lucky enough, we had resource people in there to advise us, and we just felt that the proposal wasn't good enough to bring back. So for that reason, we're not bringing it back to you. However, in its place, what was agreed to, that December the 31st has been agreed upon as a deadline for determining what can be done in Burjo with Seafreeze. This is the deadline that has been established, that we would try to see what can be done by December the 31st as far as working something out to get the plant going in 1999. A committee has been formed to meet on a regular basis and much more frequent than have been happened in the past. That committee is only a small committee. It's made up of Ridge Anstey, Bill Barry, Provincial Fisheries, Gerald McDonald, Sam Morgan, and myself. We're holding our first meeting in Corner Brook on Thursday morning. I can't say for sure, but I'll be very doubtful if shortly after that meeting, if we won't be meeting with Mr. Tobin. However, that's just a supposition on my part. Will be brought back to you. You will be kept informed. And I hope things works out. I really, really do. So having said that, if there's nothing more, may as well adjourn the meeting, and hopefully we'll meet again and have real good news the next time. Thank you for coming along. Oh, if you would give us a hand, what the cheers back, I'm going to do.
Penny Paving employees have been very busy this week. Our cameras caught up with a group leveling up driveways in the Muddy O area. Another crew was paving the side roads known as Goodyear Place. Barbara Berta, principal of St. John's Central High, for an update on the air quality control work being done at the school. Mrs. Berta also told me about some concerns the students had with regard to writing exams when they reach level 1.
With us today, Barbara Berta, principal of the high school. Mrs. Berta, I'd like to get an update on the air quality control work that's being done at the school.
Well, Marie, the carpets have been taken up and the tile has been laid. And I guess the major area of difficulty that last year was indicating in the testing that there was a fungus growth has been cleaned out, new walls and ceiling put in. And we've been waiting to hear back from a retesting of those rooms, in particular the guidance counselor's office and the science lab, to ensure that the cleaning that was done was successful. And actually I had a meeting yesterday with Mr. Jerry Antle from the Department of Public Works and Services. And the second report has been passed out. The spore count is now down below the hazardous area, and therefore our final cleanup of the project, I guess, should go ahead starting today and be finished hopefully very soon.
Is there a tentative date when it's supposed to be finished?
The tentative date is the 26th of October. However, I'm in hopes that it will be done earlier than that, because at this point in time we still cannot use our science lab. We still cannot use our guidance office for meetings and for accessing student files or even accessing information, career information for students in grade 12. And we're 6 weeks now into the school year. Our report cards will be going out early in November. So we have teachers, for example, in science who are behind on their labs, and we have students who are patiently waiting for information that they need from the guidance office. So with that, yes, I would like to have things finished as soon as possible. And yesterday I was guaranteed in the meeting that it will now be finished as soon as possible. I know the workers have been working really hard to try to get it done, and we've been working around, I guess, maintaining a school schedule and having students in class and doing things on weekend and that type of thing to cut down on the amount of class time that would have been missed if we hadn't operated any other way. So the workers have been very considerate of that, and they have been working, from what I've seen, full tilt in order to get this finished.
So is the frustration level of the teachers, yourself, and the students very high at this time? Are they coping very well?
I think everyone is coping very well. We went through a process where everything had to be cleaned out of certain rooms for carpets to be taken up. Students had to be directed to other rooms for classes, and we had to do without the staff room, for a couple of days, and then the adult center had to be taken apart. So those types of things do raise your stress level. I mean, there's no doubt about that. You're used to being in a room where you have access to all of your materials and all of your information that you need, and then when someone closes that off from you, it's like losing a body part because it's so important to you in order to get your work done. But I think the stress level has been handled quite well, and I've really appreciated that on behalf of students, staff, and parents, really. And at this point in time, I think if it's prolonged, sooner or later the stress level is going to get beyond the point of acceptance, mainly because teachers are concerned about ensuring that their courses are completed before the year end. And when you take 6 weeks of a program and try to delay, for example, doing labs, as in the science courses, both junior high and senior high, then that's difficult for a teacher, because they know that as soon as the rooms are finished, they have to make up that time. They have to get those labs done in order to accommodate all of the objectives of their courses. So hopefully everything's going to be finished by the 26th, if not sooner. And if it's later than that, the stress level might change.
Excuse me. The Brightside youth usually have their centre around weekends.
Yes.
Is that the work that's going on in the school, has that hindered the centre in any way?
It had hindered it for the month of September, And I guess to some degree even the use of the quarter at this point in time, because we still have materials in the quarter. But I have spoken with the Committee of Bright Sites Youth, and they as well have been very tolerant of the situation, as has been the Sunday school, for example, that wasn't able to open in September. But those things now have been rectified. The youth center can open. They're focusing mainly in the gym and the stage at this point in time. But they do now have a place to go. Last Thursday night, as a matter of fact, there was a teenage dance here and a preteen dance. And I've been speaking with Elsie Rose, and they're starting Sunday school this week. So those things have been terrified, and things are starting to get back to normal.
I understand that you've had your first staff meeting of the year. Can you tell me a bit about any activities that are going to be taking place for this school year?
Yes, we've had our staff meeting and dealt with some of the issues that need to be dealt with up front that parents need to be aware of. One of the complaints that we had from students last year, in particular level 1 students, because their midterms were not up to what we thought they should be. They were down in the low 70% success rate. So we did a little survey with them, had a chat with them, and asked them what the problems were. And one of the things that they pointed out to us as a staff was that there were no exams, or very few exams, written in junior high. And therefore they felt when they got to level 1 they weren't really prepared for coping with doing 14 credits and being expected to write block exams, for example, in midterm in June in the gym. So what the staff has decided to do is to ease that in gradually in junior high. So that this year, for example, the grade 7s will write an exam in the gym for midterm and finals. They'll do it in mathematics, in science, and in computers. And then in grade 8, we will add on language, and then in grade 9 we will add on social studies, so that by the time these students get to grade 9 they will be writing 5 exams with midterms and finals in the gym. So the intent is that by the time they get to level 1 they have been eased into the experience of writing exams. So that's one thing that we're doing. A second thing is we've been looking at our academic subjects in high school, in particular our math and our science. And what we're finding is that math students are doing the academic 1300, failing it, and going into their second year and doing math 2200, and yet they haven't really completed math 1300. We've had some occasions where students have failed math 1300, math 2200, and have still signed up for 3200. And the reason for that is the Department of Education does not stipulate that one course is a prerequisite for another. But in looking at our success rate and in looking at what students are doing, the staff believe that basically what we're doing when we allow students to sign up for courses like that is that we're setting them up for failure. Because the 1300 is really the foundation for the 2200 and the 3200 in academic math. And if a student hasn't passed the 1300, then basically what we're expecting them to do is to pick up that foundation that they've lost, but then also continue into a higher level mathematics. And there has been no indication of any success rate at all. So the school is taking a policy to the school council and asking them to pass a policy that states that a student will not be permitted to take math 2200 if they have not passed 1300. And neither would they be allowed to do 3200 unless they pass 2200. And that basically is for the student's own benefit. Right? Now, it's not a policy in this school at this point in time because it has not been taken to the council at this point in time. As soon as it's been taken to the council, if the council passes it, then there will be a letter going home to parents notifying them of the regulation. But I'd just like for parents to think about that being a possibility of happening. We're also looking at our sciences, in particular our biology and chemistry, because again we're finding if students fail the 2201 in biology, it's highly unlikely that they're going to pass the 3201. And again, they're setting themselves up for failure. So we're also requesting that a policy be brought in for both biology and chemistry, that the student must pass the level 2 chemistry and biology before they are permitted to do the level 3. And with physics, physics is a bit different in the sense that the degree, I guess, of knowledge that needs to be known for 3204 is not different from what has to be known in 2204, the second year, other than it's different topics. And therefore it is possible to do the physics 3204 without the 2204, or to reverse them, because it's they're not done in sequence. And but the difficulty with the physics is we find students are not successful if they're not successful in academic math, because physics is a course that's full of formulas and mathematical calculations. So the policy that we're asking to be approved for that one is that students not be permitted to do the 3204 physics if they are not doing academic math. They should be doing both. I think those are the ones that are the most important to us at this point in time. We had some discussion about graduation. Last year we had some concerns that students are focusing on the graduation night as a graduation. In other words, when that night is over, when that prom night is over, then I have graduated. And I'm sometimes afraid that we lose sight of whether or not a student is graduating, as opposed to whether or not the student can go to the graduation prom. And I think parents and staff there need to continuously point out to students that at the end of grad night or grad weekend, which is usually the first week of May, does not spell out for them the end of the year. Because what we experienced last year, now whether it was because it was the group of students or whether that's what we've grown into, I'm not sure. I guess we'll see this year, because we can compare this year to last year, if it seems to be a growing trend. But last year I had a very strong sense, and many in the staff had a very strong sense, that students had given up work after graduation, and their success rate was then maybe what it wasn't what it could have been at the end of the year. And it's difficult to judge from year to year because every graduating class, of course, is a different group of students. But if that tends to be the trend, then I think it's something that we need to look at, because graduation night is not graduation night; it's a prom night. It's a dance, and the students have a lot of work to do after the first week of May this year, right up until the 25th of June, in order to get their marks together and to do well for their finals in June. Another thing that wasn't talked about at the staff meeting, but certainly has been talked about with myself and Mrs. Skinner, Wanda Skinner, is that this is the last year for the Adult Center project, which means that her job terminates at the end of June. And we then, this year, have got to set up a volunteer system. If there's neither volunteer system put in place so that adults work with the school in order to keep the center going, then we're going to lose that center. And I think that would be a terrible thing to happen, because right now we have the equipment and the opportunity and the facility to offer adults and students at risk a place to come and upgrade their education without leaving Burgeo if they really want to. And I think this day and age, we're all aware of the importance of maintaining our education. Burgeo, probably better than most provinces on the island, have experienced the moratorium and the TAGE program, or the FRAM program, whatever it's called now. And we're very much aware of the fact that people are having to upgrade, people are having to leave the community in order to seek alternate sources of work. And the center can be very helpful, with that transition, particularly with the upgrading. And as I said, we have the equipment here to do it. And so we're encouraging all adults which includes students who might have just finished school and yet didn't receive a graduation certificate, to come in and use the center. And we're also saying to those people, if you know how to operate the equipment or would like to learn to operate the equipment, and offer some volunteer time to come in and work with adults in the evening, to give Wanda a call and say, I'm willing to volunteer. Because if we don't, we are going to lose it. And there are other areas in Newfoundland who would certainly be quite happy to take the program on and to take the Plato learning system, the equipment, with them. And I really don't want to see that happen. So any adult out there who would agree to volunteer, please let us know so that we can start a system in process this year, so that when Wanda walks away at the end of June, we don't have to say this is the end of the project. The other thing I guess that concerns me is that we're trying to start up our school council again this year. We had understood at the end of last year when school closed that we were to become one council, A.J. Matthews and St. John Central. And the reason for that was we are trying to get both schools classified as a small school. The school board has put us on the books at the Department of Education as being one school, a K-12 school. And the reason for that is if we can be designated as a small school, and not only a small school, but in particular a small essential school, as Ramia is, then we should be entitled to more staff. Ramia, I think at this time, has at least 3 staff more than Burgeo does, maybe even more, simply because they are considered a small school. And therefore, there's a different formula allotment for the number of staff that they get compared to A.J. Matthews and St. John's Central being designated as 2 separate schools. So one of the suggestions in June was that maybe in that case we should have one council. But anyway, between June and September, that was changed again, and they decided no, that we should run with 2 separate councils. And so when we came back in September, we were looking at having 2 councils again as opposed to 1, and had to reset our thoughts, I guess, and start nominations. We've lost a couple of people due to them leaving the community. Public health nurse was a member of our council, and she transferred to Corner Brook. Mr. Dunphy was a member of our council. He's returned to university. And then we have a couple of parents who served a year who felt that because of other commitments, they couldn't serve this year. So we are definitely short 2 parent reps and 1 community rep. And we ran a couple of nominations, but there were no takers. And so again, I'm asking parents out there who are interested in school growth, who are interested in in what's going on in the school, to support it by offering themselves for the council. The only other thing that I would like to talk about this evening is the fact that principals now have to do what's called a school report card. I'll hold it up for you. Basically what it does is it gives all the information of the tests that we've done, writing assessments, math criteria, the Canadian Test of Basic Skills. It talks about the extracurricular activities that we had in the school this year, any successes we had in tournaments or competitions that we were involved in, such as the math and sports. And it goes to the Department of Education in St. John's. The copy also goes to District 4 Board Office. The council members will receive a copy. There will also be a copy here in the school. Any parent who would like to come in and read what was done, it's a summary of activities that were completed in the 97-98 school year. If you would like to read about those activities and read the school council report, it's all in this one. In the general office, so all they'd have to do, if you're interested in looking at it, come into the office and just ask to see the report, and we will give you a room to sit down and read it.
I'd like to thank you very much for your time this morning, Mrs. Barter.
Thank you very much, Maureen.
Benoit gave me an update on how the work was progressing at A.J. Matthews. Mrs. Benoit reported that all the carpets had been taken up and the tiling had been completed. The workers are now replacing the paneling on the primary section. The work is expected to be done by Monday, October 26th. Mrs. Benoit also told me of some of the upcoming events at the school. Stay with us for more of This Week in Review coming up in just a moment.
It was harvest time when a terrible accident changed John Paul's life forever. He was playing near a grain auger and fell onto the moving blades. Both his arms were severed. John Paul and other War Amps champs who have lost arms and legs in accidents appear on parade floats and television with a kids-to-kids warning.
Don't let it happen to you. Play safe.
Please call the War Amps about the materials available through the Play Safe program.
Play safe. Principal Doreen Benoit gave me an update on how the work was progressing at A.J. Matthews. Mrs. Benoit reported that all the carpets had been taken up and the tiling had been completed. The workers are now replacing the paneling on the primary section. The work is expected to be done by Monday, October 26th. Mrs. Benoit also told me of some of the upcoming events at the school.
Can you give us any updates on any upcoming events or anything that's going on in your school?
Well, we always got a fair amount of things going on in the school, and this year is no different than others. Basically, at this point in time, I suppose one of the things that's important to us is the fact that we do have our volunteers back for our library and computer labs, and we were a little bit slower getting off the ground with our computer lab this year. We had some new personnel, and one of the things that's been most difficult for us to deal with this year has been the illness of one of our teachers, and we're glad to be able to report that she's making good progress, as Mrs. Marlene Batcher. So that's been very important to all of us at the school, is the fact that she's coming along well, and we're very pleased about that. Some of the upcoming events, we have some meetings scheduled for this week. Our school goals committee will be meeting this week, and our curriculum committee will be meeting. We have reports coming up on the 16th of November. That's our oral conferences. We have a new CIS person in our school, and she'll be here for 14 weeks, Elaine Swift. And you probably want to talk to her a little bit about the role of a CIS person in the school and the community. Teachers will be involved in in-services, religious education in-services, within the next 2 to 3 weeks. And during the time that the teachers are gone to in-service, students from that class will remain home that day. And that's a result of government cutbacks in substitute time. Even though some people may have heard on Roger Grimes on TV saying that there's no cutback in substitute time, this is one of the first years that we've had to send students home when teachers go to in-service. What else do we have? We have a new program. It's not a program as such, but we're always looking to get new things for our schools, and one of the ways of doing that, I suppose, is getting involved in opportunities that are available to you. Camels has a program where you can collect their labels, and the school can get materials by collecting labels. And Kellogg's Cornflakes also has a program for that. Now the Kellogg's one is, I think a letter was sent home to parents last week describing that program and encouraging parents to save the barcodes of Kellogg's products. Camel's is very similar, only we get a wide variety of materials we can get from our Camel's labels that we can't get from Kellogg's. We can enroll in, try to get computer equipment from Kellogg's. That's what they're involved in. But we encourage the students to save your labels from Camel's or from Kellogg's, and also at Foodland. So the labels are very important in school this year. We had a parent training session last Wednesday on sexuality. That was for our grade 3 parents, And on November the 5th, we'll be having our kindergarten parent training session on sexuality. And on the 13th, we'll be having one for grade 1s and 2s. And during that time, basically, it's a very informal session, about an hour and a half, where we show how we discuss the program that we offer in school related to sexuality with our children. And it gives the parents an opportunity to better understand that, as well as talk to, I suppose, experts in relation to sexuality, because they've been involved with the sexual abuse team in Stephenville area for the past number of years. So they'll be present as well, facilitating the meeting.
So did you have a good turnout with your grade 3?
I thought it was a very good. There's 18 students in grade 3, and we had 12 parents attend that session, which was very good, I thought. And the parents from the grade 3 class will be asked to make some suggestions as to how we can improve that session for our next lot of parents. So we hope that it's beneficial to parents, and we have 2 school goals this year, or actually 3 school goals. One of them is to involve our parents more in our school, and one of the ways of doing that is parent training sessions, so that the parents and the teachers are working together in the same way. Another school goal is to improve our school climate, and of course, just by the air quality issue being dealt with, the school climate will have improved. But we're going to be involved with some parents, and this is a committee. There was a committee struck last year on discipline. It never did get off the ground because both the teacher and the parent, one of the teachers and one of the parents involved, were involved with people who were sick, and circumstances beyond our control caused us not to be able to have those meetings. But we do have a meeting scheduled very early in very near future related to that. And our other school goal this year is technology, and where we have our school lab network that was done over the summer, and our students will now have access to the internet. We basically have the same capabilities at our school now that are at the high school for students, and we have a lot of good software. As teachers, we're learning how to use some of this new equipment. You know, when you network a school, it makes a difference to how you do things. And for some of us, it's new, and we are learning, and we're planning an in-service for teachers later on in the fall to improve our skills in that area. And hopefully, when our skills improve, students' skills will improve as well.
Now we have Mayor Ann with the council report.
My turn to give the council report again. Deputy Mayor Barter was out of town all week, and Councillor Robert has been working all week, so therefore the task fell to me again. Council held its regular meeting on October the 21st. Not a great number of items were discussed at that meeting. Mainly it was just regular maintenance work of council. A report from the town manager gave us that the street project should be finished by Friday of next week. And we realize that there's been a lot of inconvenience to a lot of people through what's been going on with the streets here over the past few weeks. But it is finally clearing up. It appears as if a lot of people have got concerns about drainage as a result of the streets being a little bit higher. However, the council just couldn't afford and will never be able to afford to put in drainage everywhere. So for some of those who start to experience a little more difficulty with the drainage getting off to their parking lots and so on, well, maybe just a little small pipe that you could put down yourself would certainly take care of that. The conceptual design for the recreation and education complex contract has been signed with Atlantic Engineering who will be doing up that work. And they're estimating, I think it's about 6 weeks to have a conceptual design done of the recreation education complex. The item of discussion was our garbage dump, and we're looking at, there's a pit just in past the garbage dump, just outside of what's known as Benny's Mud Hole. And we've been looking at that with a view to making it an area where probably we can store wrecked cars. And it's my understanding that after you get so many cars, then someone would come out and compact them. So this might be an alternative to placing them on the regular garbage dump. And so many vehicles on the regular garbage dump sort of fools the dump up a bit. Cyril Warren, who's the liaison councillor between council and the Burgeo Diversification Board, Cyril gave his report, and one item in that report which was of interest to us for sure was that the Burgeo Diversification Development Board is trying to get some jobs for Burgeo that are for other clients other than TAG's recipients. So hopefully they will be successful in that regard. Also, the development officer, Sam Morgan, asked me tonight to give a plug for their nomination day, which is October the 28th. So anyone interested in serving on the Burgeo Diversification Development Board, it wouldn't hurt to come forward. These people are doing some good work. I think it's a direct result of their work that have seen close to $1 million worth of projects come our way. So, you know, it certainly wouldn't hurt if more people showed interest in that board. Another project which council is looking at is a walkway to the swimming hole in there around CLO. The town manager is working on this. We've got a couple concerns, and it'll be slow getting going. But our main one is we want to check out is would council be liable to have a lifeguard there? Should we have it turned into a swimming hole? So there's quite a few hurdles to get over before that project can go. Another item of discussion was people operating businesses for other than what their permit allowed them to do. In order to operate a business of any kind in this town, you must have a permit, and this permit is issued under the Urban and Planning Act. And if you pick up a permit for one business, you can't automatically just switch over and go into another business without first getting another permit from council. Because it could very well be that what was permissible in your first permit, you know, if you ask for a different type of business, well, that might not be permissible. Just as an example, I'd say, like for instance, let's say you applied to operate a clothing store, and for some reason you decide, though, you don't want a clothing store anymore, and you want to go to want to turn it into a restaurant. You know, I mean, you definitely got to make another application, and it very well could be turned down for a restaurant, whereas it was approved for a clothing store. So, you know, this is in violation of the Urban Planning Act, and it's just not permissible. There was an application for a beauty salon in the Messers area. That application had to be deferred for a while because where it's requested is in what's known as residential zoning. So therefore, it's the people in the immediate area that's got to be consulted first. So anyone who lives in that particular area, if they got objections to the development going ahead, well, they've got a right to send in their objections. But people who don't live in the area has got no control over what does go on in there. And that was about it for our council meeting. I'll just touch on the fish plant, which is a different issue. I won't give an update of what happened on October the 17th, as we held a public meeting, and I guess most people around town know about that. We held another meeting yesterday, that was October the 22nd, in Corner Brook. Mr. Bill Barry and his brother Jim, Ridge Anstey, Sam Organ, and myself, Gerald McDonald. And we did have a very good meeting. I feel it was fairly productive. I wish I could make the announcement that you'd like to hear, but at this time it just can't be made because there's too much work left yet to do. It looks good, and I have got to say that if there's a problem with this one, then it's not with Mr. Barry only, because we're all in there together. Mr. Barry, Ridge Anstey, and the whole crew of us. So unless something different happens, then we would equally be at fault. This is definitely not a stalling tactic because there's too many of us involved. But things do seem to be moving in a positive direction. Anything can happen to derail it, but we're going at full speed. I've got another meeting in St. John's on Wednesday coming. That's Ridge Anstey, Max Short, Bill Barry, and myself. So we're planning, we're getting together. Is it going to work? I don't know. But all I can pass out to you is that in 11 days, we will have had 3 meetings. So that appears to me to be a fair amount of momentum. And hopefully at the end of the road, there'll be some good news. Good night.
8 students from A.J. Matthews got a ride on the fire truck this past week. During Fire Prevention Week, every student's name was entered in a contest and the winners went for a ride. Two lucky students won t-shirts.
After fire department, what we're going to do this year, we got 2 t-shirts that we're going to draw for. Fire drill, the Great Escape. We're going to draw one for Kendrick from the elementary, and we're going to draw one for the primary. Okay? Show the Great Escape. Okay? All right, so now what we'll do, we'll draw for where? That's the elementary. Draw, take up one name, okay? Take up one name. Grade 4, Susan Skinner. Oh, okay. Just hold on to me, okay? Now, hold on to those. Now for the primary, we'll draw. Okay.
Tom Keel, an engineer working on the elementary school, gave the students an early Halloween treat, time off from class. Mr. Keel treated the teachers and students to a sing-along in the school library.
For some parts too, you guys gotta go hold back, spread.
Yeah.
Ever heard of it before?
Hold back.
Coming around the mountain?
Yeah.
Come around the mountain, come around the mountain, where she goes. She'll be coming around the mountain, she'll be coming around the mountain, she'll be around the mountain, where she goes. She's riding 6 white horses, where she comes. She'll be riding 6 white horses, where she goes.
your exercise? Maybe after we get one, meet you guys up and do some exercise, eh? You help me open the song, will you? This is the one that I play for the guys out on the job here so I can get some work on them. I can make them work hard. So I sing them a few songs and then they go right back at it and hammering with the nails and saws, boards, and they go right. It's a working man I am, and I've been down underground, and I swear to God if I ever see the sun, and for any length of time I can hold you in my mind, I never again will go down underground. At the age of 16 years, he quarreled with his peers, and he vowed there'd never be another one. Through the dark recess of night, where you teach me for your time, and the cold dust lies heavy on your love. It's a working man I am, and I've been down underground, and I swear to God if I ever see the sun, and for any length of time I can hold you in my mind, I never again will go down underground. At the age of 68, he'll greet you at the door, and he'll gently lead you by the arm through the dark recess of night, where he'll take you back in time, and the cold dust lies heavy on your lungs. It's a working man I am, and I've been down underground, and I swear to God if I ever see the sun, and for any length of time I can hold you in my mind, I never again will go down underground. I never again will go down underground.
Stay with us for Off the Rack, community events, BBS Playbill, all after this.
In grassroots work, there are no quick fixes. It's a process that begins with listening, exchanging ideas, and working together to solve problems. In Mali, people know what they and their sensitive desert ecology need. Together with USC Canada, they're coming up with solutions like small-scale irrigation systems, market gardens, and locally adapted seeds. Be part of the process. USC Canada, 56 Spark Street, Ottawa.
This week, as we scanned our tape racks, we came across a video of Mrs. Tucker's grade 3 class from October 28, 1990. These boys are reading a poem and telling us about their witches. Can you tell us who they are before they tell you?
Heaven that you will. Woo, woo, woo.
Ask us the riddle.
Why did witches ride their brooms?
That is weird.
My wizard, his name is Leonardo, and Damon Brothers. Why witches and wizard? Why need you? This is my witch. His name is Michelangelo. My name is Mark.
Good evening, and welcome to the community event segment of tonight's broadcast. I'm Rana Green. The guiding movement is looking for Girl Guide guiders. If you are a female and are willing to work with girls from ages 10 to 12, please call Tricia Sims at 886-2060 after 5 p.m. any day. The winners of the Monner Hockey Pool were John Henderson, Mabel Brown, Angela Curry, Florence Ann, and Barb Pink. If you would like to play the hockey pool, cards are available from Jim Tucker and Ken Harrett and have to be passed in by Thursday of each week. The Lioness Bingo on Wednesday, October 2014 was won by Irene Marsden and Minnie Randall. Congratulations to you both. The winner of the Hello Hell Bingo on Wednesday, October 21st was Joan Rose. Congratulations, Joan. The Sea Kids will be having a bingo on Wednesday, October 28th at 7 p.m. Cards are $1 each for $6 or $5 and are available from any Sea Cadet or in most stores around town. Please support the Sea Cadets Play TV Bingo. The Burnings will be having a flea market on November 28th. To book a table, please call Laura Hand at 886-2974. If your group or organization has an upcoming event plan, we will be happy to advertise it for you. You can contact BBS office by Wednesday of each week to have items included in this portion of our broadcast. That concludes the community event segment of tonight's program. See you next week. BBS Playbill. Join us on Tuesday at 7 p.m. for Pansy's Garden. Try your luck on Wednesday at 7 p.m. by playing TV Bingo. Following the bingo, we will have a tape of Flames of the Faithful. Join Pansy and the gang for 2 stories, a craft, and lots of fun Saturday morning at 11 a.m. on Pansy's Garden. And all